Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here. It's Wednesday, March 4th, day 8 in the Kouri Richins trial. And first up on the stand was LaShonda Rogers. She works at New York Life Insurance in the call center. She got a call from Brian Freckleton, who is an insurance agent, and that call was on June 2nd, 2022. He was asking for changes in beneficiaries on Eric and Cody's policies. The changes were done through the online portal, and only the owner or someone who had access to the login information can change the policy. They show the change form, and from January 1st, 2022, there is a change form. The insured is Kouri Richins, which is Eric's business partner, and his beneficiary is Eric. It's vice versa. The next block shows the policy is effective on January 1st, 2022, and the beneficiary was changed from Eric to Kouri for 100%. On January 2nd, it's changed back to Eric as the beneficiary. The witness was trying to figure out who changed it, so she reached out to find out the IP address of where the change came from. They show an email from the witness saying, per our conversation last week, please see below for who the beneficiaries were changed to on January 1st, 2022. I was able to work with our tech team to get this information. On January 1st, 2022, that beneficiary changed from Kouri to Eric, and then Kouri back to Eric, all within a few minutes of each other. The witness was told all these changes were made from Eric's login and the same IP address. On June 9th, 2022, they discover it was actually Kouri's email address logging in to make these changes. On cross, Ramos asked about the client ID on an exhibit they showed, and that was Eric's. Ramos compares the client ID of Eric and Cody, and the witness said the client ID was not used to log in when the beneficiary changes were made. On June 9th, 2022, the witness sends another email to Mr. Freckleton, the other agent who reached out to her. It says, "Good morning, Brian. After further reviewing this with my manager, here's some additional information on this policy. They cannot log in with any other credentials besides what we have on record. It will not let them. It does appear Kouri is the one that has been managing the online activities since her email is being used. But if someone knows the password and her information, they could also log in." And on cross, she is asked if she can say Kouri was the person behind the login, and she can't. Nate Eaton is in the courtroom, and he did tweet out that jurors are taking notes. The next witness, Brian Freckleton. He explains the buy-sell agreement, which is one or two more partners pull together to protect from partners dying, retiring, or becoming disabled, and it helps with the buyout. He thought the company was worth about $4 million at the time, so they put $2 million in life insurance on both Cody and Eric, meaning Eric would own a policy on Cody, Cody would own a policy on Eric in the event of death. And in the event of death, Cody would have been the beneficiary, and Eric would have been if Cody passed away. Cody would have gotten $2 million tax-free, but he would have to use that $2 million to buy stock from Eric's trust. Their system shows alerts showing what clients have done to the accounts or what they've done for the clients. And beneficiaries being changed is one of those alerts. On January 1st, 2022, he got the alert that the policy on Eric and Cody, the beneficiary, had been attempted to be changed from Eric to Kouri on Cody's policy. He called Eric and Cody, but the calls went to voicemail. But they did call back. On cross, it was Ramos. "When did you set up the policy for Eric?" He said back in 2007, he set up a policy for $500,000 of term life insurance. The buy-sell was started, he believes, in 2020. The owners have to sign the application, but Kouri's email address was the email associated with Eric's life insurance account. They show an exhibit, and he's asked if he knew their IDs. He has them, but he doesn't know them offhand. He also got IP addresses and the client IDs that were used, and that was it for him. After they had their morning break, they got a notice that Carmen violated her drug court. The defense was unaware of this, and of course, they asked for a mistrial. The state said they were not aware of a text coming in this morning. 10 days ago, the defense submitted a request about information on Carmen, The judge said he would need a written motion and then the state can respond, but for now, the trial goes on. The next witness, Ann Coates, she is with CMFG Life Insurance. Her company is associated through offering insurance through credit unions, and she received a written application for an insurance policy allegedly from Eric and Kouri. This was on February 3rd, 2022, and it was approved the next day. Just a little side note here, this is around a month before Eric died. The mailing address was to a P.O. box of Kouri's. There was no email given for Eric. There is a method of payment listed on this, which is set for auto withdrawal, and it was allegedly signed by Kouri and Eric. They sent a billing statement showing the withdrawal schedule is automatic as well as a welcome letter. There was a policy of accidental death for $300,000 and another policy issued May 12, 2017 for $250,000, which was being paid through to Kouri. To accept a claim, they will talk to the family or the beneficiary. And twice a year, they run Social Security numbers through a database to see if people with policies have passed away. And that's how they learn Eric had died. That was done in April of 2022. But from that policy, Kouri was paid $251,558, and Eric had other policies. Also, when someone calls in, it is recorded. The initial claim was for one policy, but over time, they combined the policies he had into the same one for payout. April 28th, 2022, Kouri and the life insurance company talk about both policies Eric had, the $250,000 and the recent $100,000. May 4th, another communication with Kouri. She called about the status of the claim. She was informed it was received, but it shows the cause of death as pending. Kouri was advised to send the final death certificate showing the cause of death, and she agreed to do so. June 7th, there's a note that says the manager needs to review the death certificate with the cause being drug intoxication with fentanyl. June 14th, there is an outgoing call to Kouri to ask her if fentanyl was prescribed to Eric and also asking for a copy of the prescription. They would also need the address of the doctor who prescribed it so they could contact them. Kouri called asking about the message she received and said the fentanyl was not prescribed, so she couldn't give any information about it, and she had no idea how Eric got it. This specifically was related to an additional $50,000 to be paid if he died by a prescription given from a doctor. June 21st, Kouri called again asking for a status and was told the $250,000 settlement was sent on the 17th of June. But the more recent claim of $100,000 was brand new and they needed to investigate, and it can become a contestable claim. They review the application questions and medical history to ensure the answers were answered correctly when it was filled out. But they did pay out for the $100,000 policy on August 31st, 2022. That was an electronic funds transfer for $101,033. September 8th, Kouri asked about whether there were any other policies, and the company told her they paid out the two they had. On Cross, they send out applications in the mail to credit union members and other people. That $100,000 policy was in response to a mailer from the insurance company. They found Eric had passed with that recent policy effective since May 24th, 2022. They put those policies in a computer and the system approves or denies the application. They did ask for Eric's medical records and marijuana use was listed, but nothing further. On redirect, Eric said he used marijuana once or twice a year. Yes, the witness is released. The next witness, Christina Miller, she is a divorce attorney. She met with Eric and he was referred to her by his brother-in-law, Clint. Clint contacted her in early October 2020. She met with Eric alone for 2.5 hours. She gives a packet for them to fill out, but he did not. The adverse party is listed as Kouri. Eric wanted to find out what it would look like to go forward with the divorce as far as protecting his finances. She also gave advice about custody. And at that time, the presumption is custody is 60-40 with what they call a fat weekend. At that point, the courts were moving forward with equal parenting time, but that wasn't in place. It was still what they call the fat weekend. She told Eric this is typical unless there's something that stood out. She said with him not filling out that packet, it's unusual because it means the client didn't want to think about not seeing their kid every day or the spouse having more times with the kids than the other parent. She did give him the to-do list, but he didn't want to take it. She emailed that packet to Clint. She referred Eric, to who he did his business planning documents with, to revoke a power of attorney and also to redo an estate plan. She said it is unusual for her to recommend that because most people aren't thinking beyond the divorce itself. They're not thinking about estate planning or death. And once you file for divorce, you can't change beneficiaries. And she only referred one other person to change their estate plan out of thousands of clients. In the end, we know he did not file for divorce. On cross, it wasn't Eric who reached out. No, Eric called her paralegal to give specifics about a situation, and their meeting was just the two of them. Clint did reach out to thank her for seeing Eric, but Eric did not want the attorney to contact him by phone or email. He wanted all communications to go through Clint. Eric did fill out an unofficial form about child support where he reported his monthly income was $33,000. And that likely would have put him paying a good bit each month for child support. That is where we left off for lunch. So I'll be back later today with the afternoon update. We will see you soon.